Alright, just a couple rules for today as we look at the next section. If you are multiplying with the same index, then you can go ahead and multiply those radicands. This works the same as an exponent. Remember we talked about the square root of x being x to the 1/2 power. So all those rules apply that we've been reviewing from Algebra 1. When we look at multiplication, this shouldn't be too bad. Can you simplify the product of the radical expressions? Explain. So in the first one, we'll say no. Right. So the indexes, right? 3 is not the same as 2 for the index. So we can't do anything with that. Since we have 3 and 3, we can go ahead and make this the cube root of -8. And the cube root of -8, right, it's going to be 4 and 2 and 2 and 2. So we get all these 2's. Keep in mind, it should be negative. So -2. And then the variables work the same way. Right, they have the same index. So we have 4 times 8. I'm not even so worried about that. And I know 8 is made up of 4 and 2. So I know it's going to be 4 square root of 2. When I look at x, it's going to be x to the 3rd. So I'm going to get one pair and one left over. And for the y's, it's going to be y to the 6th. So we get y to the 3rd. Okay, so we could put it together and in between say 32 x cubed y to the 6th. Okay. But if you want to work with it as you're going, we can do that as well. Either way, we have to end up at that 4 xy cubed square root 2x. So multiplication. Okay, so 1a, we'll say no. I had to have circled the index to identify what's going to happen there. 5th root, we end up with 10. That's 2 and 5, or 1 and 10. No pairs. So can we simplify it? Yes. But can I take anything out of it? No. So we continue working on those products. So we put those together. So 72 and 10, 720. X to the 4th, y to the 5th. We do have the same index. Remember, nothing there means squared. Let me start to break those down. We know 720. If you're not sure what to do, go back to the factors you had and then just work with those. Right, we get 9 and 8, 2 and 5. 9's going to give us our pair of 3's. We get 4 and 2, so here's a pair of 2's, another pair of 2's. So we get 2 times 2. So we have 12. And there's that 5 left over. Left probably way too much space there. But we do have x squared, y squared with a y left over. So we'll put it all together at the end there. Okay, so either way you want to deal with the numbers, of obviously the variables we want to put together as we work with those. Simplified form. So, you know, unless you really want to grab your calculator, you're probably not going to deal with putting this together. I'm going to think 5 and 7, 5 and 9, so 3, 3 with the 5s. So you're really going to work on the process as you're doing it with those numbers. So I know on the outside it should be 15 something root 7. We got x to the 6th when we put it together. We got y to the 7th. So we know one's going to be left over. So can I multiply 45 and 35? Absolutely. Is it required in the process? No. And I would really encourage you not to, because then you're just going to need a larger number to break down. Alright, so that is hopefully not too bad. Now we get to some crazy stuff. Remember, we cannot have anything left over under the square root in the denominator. So with these, we obviously want to make sure we reduce the whole thing first. And if it works out perfectly, like this one, 9x squared, remember it's still under the square root, so 3x becomes our final answer. So that's a little bit easier, not too bad. Alright, had a little sniffle there. Alright, so 162, right, so the first idea is that I want to write this as one large cube root. So doing that, we get 54 when we divide y to the 3rd. We're still under the cube root. You want to make sure you're writing that part so you remember what you're looking for. 27 and 2 is what I'm going to think about because it's 9 and 3. So I get my trio of 3's. So 3y cube root 2 is what we're after as we break those down. So these really start to turn into something that divide nicely. This plain old division, right, is going to make sure we divide this as a single square root first. So square root of 100. And you know what that is, so go ahead and divide. And up here, remember, you can actually multiply some of these larger numbers, or you can break them down as they are and then work with them that way. Okay, and I do see a couple things, right? Anything that comes out, you're just going to multiply 6 by whatever else is in the outside here, and then have your cube root of anything that's left.